Welcome, everybody. My name is Craig Monroe. I'm the founder and the editor of Elegant Literature. I'm also the judge of the award. It's the $3,000 award for new writers. And I'm joined today by Chloe Paige, our most recent winner. Chloe, congratulations and welcome.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. Yeah, thank you.
How are you feeling right now?
Uh, Absolutely amazing. It's yeah, I'm still in shock, I think. Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Still in shock is good considering we are having this call almost 2 weeks after you found out that you
Yep.
won the $3,000 grand prize and are an award-winning author. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you so much. Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
Chloe has won the award in the actually Chloe is our 50th award winner. Chloe won
right.
the Lasting Legacy themed contest with her story To Gut a Fish, an absolutely fantastic story. For anyone who happens to be seeing this video without having read it, that magazine, Lasting Legacy, as well as all previous 50 issues of the magazine, are free to read on elegantliterature.com/magazine. Go check it out right now. Read the story and then come back to the video because it's going to make a lot more sense if you do that. And it is such a great story. I'm so excited to talk about it. For those of you who have read the magazine already and are excited to, hear Chloe's perspective on her story, Chloe, if you wouldn't mind giving us like a 30 seconds to 1 minute refresher on what the story is about in your own words, and do spoil it. People who are watching this part now should have read it. We're going to be talking all about it today, so don't feel like you have to hold anything back.
Okay. All right. So To Gut a Fish is a story about a Norwegian girl whose mother kicks her straight into the frozen lake, and while she's, I guess, sinking and she like hit the lake floor, she's kind of reflecting on um, her her mother and like why this is happening. And it's very, I think, a very powerful start for this kind of story. But yeah, we're jumping straight into the action there. And in this moment is like an inciting incident for her. So she decides to, instead of waiting at the bottom of the lake, drowning, waiting for her mum to pull her out, she decides to fight, and she comes out of the lake and her mother has just disappeared. And so this story follows this girl as she grows up, and she's trying to grow up and survive and make money, and always has this like lingering, like wondering why her mother left. And I guess it's a story about trying to find that reason, like trying to find reason in the unreasonable. And so it gets to the point where she decides that she doesn't need to understand why, she needs to be a better mother. So she she like meets a stranger at the inn that she works at, because her job is to sort of catch the fish to provide for the food for the locals and like gut the fish. And so she meets a stranger. Um, and after that encounter, she has her son, Alexander. And this woman is determined to be a better mother, to try and, yeah, be this like best version of herself for her son. Um, and so she has this life with Alexander, and he sort of grows up and they're having this wonderful time together, and he becomes 7. And unfortunately, Alexander falls into the same lake where our main character, Mama, has had almost drowned previously. And unfortunately, Alexander does not come up. He doesn't fight. And
I love how
so
you say
our main character,
unfortunately, like you're not the god of this world that made him die.
no, these characters are doing their own thing. I am just putting their lives on the page. Yeah, they definitely took a life of their own. Um, and so our main character, Mama, falls into this like absolute despair, like absolute depression, um, obviously. And So she's back at this very low point in her life where she's trying to figure out like what makes a person like a good fighter, something that like why did she survive and in that lake and he didn't, and she's like really trying to figure all that stuff out. So she's back to this question of like, why is this happening? Why didn't he fight? And eventually she comes to this realization that it was because she had loved him too much and she didn't actually had essentially like set him up for failure in his life because he was too curious about the world and he hadn't learned fear because she believed that she had coddled him too much, she had loved him too much, and that he wasn't self-sufficient enough. And so she decides she wants to try again. And she's a very determined lady. So she finds another man, has another encounter with him, and has her daughter named Hannah. And this is very important for Mama because she is trying so hard. She is fighting so hard to make her daughter be like her, to fight and stand up for herself and like not take no for an answer. So they are like hiking up into the hills and up into the fjords to practice screaming and like doing all these things to really try and numb yourself and be able to fight. But we kind of come to this realization that it's just not working because Mama still loves her children so much that she is still protecting Hannah in this way. And we come to this realization that as much as this mother wants to protect her kids so much, the kids need to be able to want to protect themselves. They need to make that decision themselves to fight. So we come to this very full circle moment where Mama leads her daughter Hannah onto that same pier and kicks her daughter straight into the lake. So exactly like her mother did to her. And we sit there for a moment watching Hannah sink, and Hannah decides to fight. And so Hannah comes up from that lake, and very similar to Mama, she is this snarling, like feral woman, and cycle has been completed.
Mhm. Fantastic. I think that would that refresher of your story was so complete that even if anybody stuck around who hadn't read it, they're going to be up to speed pretty much with what we're going to be talking about today. That's fantastic.
Oh, yay.
So lots of great stuff about the story. A lot of really strong writing in there that I'm really looking forward to talking about. But one of the interesting things about this piece is it is a bit chronicle-like in nature, which is difficult to do well in a short story format of maximum 2,000 words. I think this was pretty much right at the threshold,
Yes.
if I remember
Yep.
correctly.
Yes.
And but there's many scenes in there. You know, there's the original scene when Mama is a 7-year-old girl, not a mama yet. There is the scenes of her at the inn and you know conceiving Hannah and the husband coming around. Well, I guess it was Alexander first, and then raising Alexander, and then Alexander dying, having Hannah, raising Hannah, Hannah coming back in the lake. Lots of different scenes in this. Do you have a favorite part of the story for yourself? Or like a favorite line
Yes.
or a favorite scene or something that was most important to you?
Mm. I have a lot of very favorite moments, but God, it's like picking a favorite child, I think. uh,
No one's
but
feelings are
I
going to
will
get hurt here.
so I will pick a favorite child. It's probably the moment where when Mama decides that she wants to try again and have Hannah. There's a particular line that I really like because I feel like it really sums up how like her mental state is in this moment. Because this is a line that's actually in it's a sex scene, but it's a very glossed over sex scene, so it's not too explicit. The line is she's settling Hannah's father on the sofa. Um, and the line is, he leaned up to kiss me, to find something warm to suckle like all men and babies do.
Mhm.
And this is a really intense line, and it's something really strange to think in a sex scene. And I really like this line because of that. I like that it's so harsh. It really shows her headspace in that moment. Um, it's so visceral, and it's really confronting. And I really like this line because a part of writing this was I really wanted to write this woman in an ugly way, not in terms of like how she looks, but it's like how she behaves. Like it's very ugly, and I've tried really hard in the story to not put any commentary attached to that. I just wanted it to just be, especially with, I guess, how women exist in our real world here. We often don't let women be ugly in that sense, just to exist exactly how they want to. And I really like that this woman, this mama, can just be feral. And it's not something that gets condemned. It's not praised, and particularly at the end of the story, it's not a behavior that gets fixed. She doesn't become this happy, I guess, housewife or anything like that. It's not the life for her, and yeah, so she doesn't get fixed in the end. Doesn't change. She kind of gets worse. And I really like that. So I like this. Yeah, I like give this
I
character's
mean,
like downward
from
arc.
a moral standpoint, she definitely gets worse. Like she cared a lot about
Yeah,
Alex, and he just fell in some water and drowned, and that's too bad. If she had done the same with Hannah and just kept her away from going out on the ice, that might have been okay. But
yeah,
there is no moral judgment in this story, which I quite like.
no,
Um, and I think probably have a question about that later. But wanted to mention I really like that selection of that line because you're right. I mean, it's kind of a sex scene, but that's very off-putting.
mm,
It very much frames her state. And then I think the follow-up to that was that like the next line was like she let him, I think, and then something about
yep,
like the warmth that she had needed to die,
yeah,
which continues to extrapolate on that. But it really shows like this is a very intimate act, like, but she's not being intimate about it. She's allowing him to kind of take that intimacy, but she's got a distance between them. She's there for a specific
mm,
goal. She just wants another kid out of it. And then
yeah,
later on, they have to actually change the way they sell their fish and make life more difficult for themselves by going door to door
yeah,
rather than selling it in
yes,
bulk at the end because they can't see her father.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, very
yeah.
interesting. Is this your first publication? Your first, was it your first paid publication? And tell me a little bit about your history in the publishing world, especially short stories.
Yeah, I've been writing specifically flash fiction, so much shorter stories than this, for about a year or just over a year now. This is the first competition that I've actually won. Um, I've had two stories in print in an anthology come out at the end of last year, so I mean, a month ago. I have two stories called Wanted Dead or Alive and The Grief, and they were published in the Not Quite Right Prize for Flash Fiction Anthology, which is actually here. So shout out to them. They're very good. They're very good to me over there. So one of their stories placed third in their competition, and the other placed fifth. And I also found out recently they nominated me for a pushcart prize. So yeah, they are very good to me over there. So I do have those two in print, and I have a couple of stories published online, not paying. But yeah, just very happy that that people are actually enjoying the work I write. It's been amazing. Yeah. All right.
The anthology that you got published in, were those paid markets or a paid anthology?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. So a few paid short stories to your name, and then now you've won our $3,000 award for new writers. So you're an award-winning author. Congratulations. I'll probably say that a couple more times.
Thank
But then,
you.
if I remember right, I saw some chatter in the last week since you won our award that you have recently learned that you won another award just after winning ours. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah. It's been a absolutely wild month or so for me. It's all just happening all at once. But I found out a couple of days ago that I won the New York City Midnight 500 word challenge. Like I won the whole thing. So that's also still settling in. It's been everything all at once. Very overwhelming. Um, yeah, that was for a story called Root Sprayers, which is a 500 word story. Uh, Similar vibe to this, in just in the sense that it's very dark and very sad. So there's a similarities there, but I'm still in shock with that one. That was, I think, 3,400 people entered. So a huge amount of people. So it's still such a shock to see my name in that email when it came through. Yeah,
Yeah. Fantastic. What a good start to 2026 for you. That is
yeah,
fantastic work. And, I haven't read your NYC Midnight story. I'm definitely going to. But if it's anything of the same caliber of writing as To Gut a Fish, it definitely deserves its win. Um, and I'm really excited to see, more from you. So you mentioned that you've been writing a lot of Flash in the last year. When
yeah.
did you start writing? Like is this a child? Like have you always been writing since childhood and just started taking it seriously recently? Did you just kind of spark a passion for it in the last year? What's the history with you and fiction writing?
Yeah, it's something that I've always really been interested in pursuing, but um, I think with a lot of people, you kind of fall into that trap of thinking that you need like a real job, so and not so much like a creative pursuit. But I've been taking it more seriously in the last sort of year or so. I've been doing a lot of flash fiction to sort of learn different genres and writing different styles and just trying to like learn as much information as I can because there's so many like techniques and styles that you can learn and like even like blending things together to create like a certain effect. It's all so interesting to me, and I'm yeah definitely been very surprised about how some of the results that I've gotten, and yeah I've just I've really been enjoying it, and I love the community of people that is in this circle as well. Like everyone I've met has been so like kind, and it's so uplifting as well. Like we all just can nerd out about like words, like sentence structures and stuff. And it's like I was like, oh, everyone's talking my language. I love this.
Yeah. Absolutely. And you've been writing a lot of Flash this past year, and you mentioned 500 words a couple of times.
Yeah,
And Elegant Literature, of course, was 2,000 words, so that's a little longer than those other things. Do you
yeah,
have plans to write even longer things, moving up to sort of longer short fiction, novellas, novels, anything like that?
yeah. I would love to. I'd love to like write a book one day, like something like that, or a novella. Yeah, it's a whole other beast trying to wrangle like such a large word count. Like even going from like 500 to 2,000 felt almost impossible to me because I was so used to writing 500 words or even less. Like I've done words as short as like 30 words. um, so yeah, 2,000 felt like this huge mountain, and I was just so worried about like, can I actually do this well in the time frame? Like I was like, I can do it in this month. I was like, can I actually do it well? Can I figure out the pacing? Can I figure out how to like where the plot beats go? And I started writing To Gut a Fish, and I realized, oh, this is why was I so worried? It was because the story was so interesting to me, and I was so excited to get it onto the page that my first draft was I don't look at the word count when I'm doing my first draft, and my first draft ended up being 2,200 words, and I was just looked at that. I was like, oh, well, I was expecting this to be like 600 words, and it's not going to be like, long enough for the story. But no, the story just fell out of me. So it was a lot easier than I thought, thankfully.
That's good. Yeah. It's but those 200 words can be hard to cut.
Mm.
You must be pretty familiar
But
with having to cut things out of your stories being 500 words and less.
yes, yeah, definitely gotten well practiced at like making every word fight for its right to be there. Um, so that's when we start looking at, okay, like we're getting all the adverbs and just throwing them out and getting like strong, letting like trying like get the verbs to try and do some heavy lifting, and like does this sentence actually push a plot forward, or is it just telling us exposition? If so, going out the back, it's gone. So it
Are you very
definitely,
sentimental? Are you very sentimental um with your writing with the pieces of the story, or are you pretty ruthless with your cutting things down to size?
uh, sometimes I do sometimes come up with some lines that I'm very like attached to, and but when it gets to that final draft and I'm editing, that's when it's just like I try and separate myself from the story, and I'm just cutting left, right, and center. So I have unfortunately had to kill many darlings that I've had to just, yeah, I've saved them and put them in a different document for hopefully another story. But yeah, they have to go. It's a hard thing to sort of get your head around, but sometimes like you just have to do what you have to do. It's got to go. If it's not serving the story, yeah, it's that's your answer.
Well, you mentioned getting rid of the adverbs, finding the right words for the right places. In your bio that went along with To Gut a Fish in the magazine, you mentioned that you adore strong verbs. And you've been talking
Yeah.
about in the writing groups and talking with people about, the literary devices and the various things. So, do you have a personal favorite strong verb or one that you overuse too much and have to
Oh,
kind of
yes.
really focus on cutting down on?
Yeah. The very first one that just like flew to my mind was the word clawed, like to claw at something. I really like that word. It, it shows a lot of emotion behind it. There's a lot of desperation. There is a clawed in here, I believe, or at least one, maybe more. But I use that one a lot. So I do keep that one in mind when I'm writing. But yeah, I love the emotion behind it. It's not just like reaching for something. It's not just grabbing. It's like this desperate, like very animalistic, very again like feral, like trying to this very panicked feeling. And I feel like that's a really good verb in that way, because it's not just showing the action that's happening. It's tying an emotion to it, and that way you don't have to, I guess, explain later on how the character's feeling. It's showed in that one word. And so that's why I really try and make those verbs work for me. Like if it can show the character's state or give us some like insight onto how they're acting, like I will, yeah, I'll jump on that. I'll try and get that to work.
Yeah. I mean, in To Get a Fish, there's definitely a lot of very strong language. Like the story feels powerful, it feels raw. A lot of the time, it feels
Mm.
visceral. I'm pretty sure those are the words I used in my judges' comments as well. But obviously, your enjoyment of language and of the writing aspects really lend themselves to this kind of story. It comes across really well. Similar question for literary devices, because you mentioned those earlier. Do you have a favorite literary device? Do you have one that you overuse, or are there any that you are just tired of seeing in, the media that you consume, whether that's novels, short stories, television, things like that?
Mm. Yeah, I use a few literary devices a lot, and to a point where I'm considering trying not to use them in certain stories, because I'm always going to impact like blind judging down the point. If someone realizes that I keep doing this one thing, I really like to repeat like a lot. I like to use repetition a lot, particularly. I believe it's called anaphora. If that is wrong, please cut it out. Um, I don't know the full myself.
If you're right, I'm going to
But
leave
it
you asking to cut it out in.
that's fine. That's fine. I'll make a fool of myself. It's okay. Um, but that is like repeating the word at the start of a clause of a sentence. So it's like long sentence, but each clause is like the same starting point. You can see that at the start of this story where Mama is sinking in the water, and there's this really long sentence where she says, "So of course, in that moment, I waited, thinking for Mama to dive in and pull me out. I waited, thinking for Mama to explain her boot on my back was an accident. I waited and sank." So it's just this repetition of the "I waited" thinking at the start of each clause. And this is one very long sentence. And I really wanted it to be that way because it's kind of symbolic of what's actually happening in the scene. So she's slowly thinking, and so having the sentence do the same thing with like the actual syntax, like it's this, I guess, like syntactic symbolism, where the sentence is also slowly like sinking down. So I felt like that was a good way to immerse the reader. So I use that a lot, and I believe I use it again later on where the title of the story gets mentioned. Mama is teaching Hannah how to take care of herself, and that is like it says like I taught. Where did I put it? Yeah, it says that I taught Hannah to sharpen her own fish hooks, to pulverize her own nettle, to bite back the tears, to gut a fish. So each clause in that sentence starts with the word to, like this repeating. It feels like it's almost like a pummeling rhythm, which is again like sort of what I wanted to mirror what's actually happening in that scene. So Mama is really sort of pummeling these life lessons into her daughter, like to do this yourself and to take care of yourself, do all this and like numb yourself to what's happening around us and to gut a fish. And like there's your name drop of the title. And so yeah, I wanted that like, to mirror that really pummeling, like this repeating rhythm. So I really thought that would be like impactful for the reader. But that's definitely a literary device I use a lot, and I mirrors that again at the end. Like that waiting line is repeated at the end again. So it's like at least 3 times I've used that device in one story. So hopefully it's not overdone, but I
I
use
think it
it a
was
lot.
effective.
Okay,
It's especially
good.
effective when you don't, it's not the whole thing or all the time, but when you have, like how you mentioned that it kind of gave the feeling of drowning, of sinking, as you were
Mm,
repeating it. Like that's an intentional choice rather than just repeating
yeah.
words. Like a poor use of repetition was when, especially when you write, a lot of people write first person, we tend to overuse I, like because that's like the subject noun that you're
Yeah.
telling the story. But you notice, especially on the first draft. I've done this plenty of times. So you're not trying to self-edit on the first draft, and I'll go back and I'll look, and it's like every sentence for like 3 or 4 paragraphs just starts with I. I did this. I was
Hmm.
going over there. I thought this, and it's just like that's terrible repetition. It doesn't add to the story. What you're talking about is conscious, intentional repetition that has an effect on the reader, and boy, did it! Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Really good stuff. You mentioned actually the title and it appearing in the text. That's a trope that I love when the title is set in the text. But that's a good segue kind of into more talking more about the story itself rather than our just love of using words. Um, how did you come up with the title? Did it come first before the story, or did it come about after writing it? Did you like how did you select it? Were there options that weren't quite a perfect fit that you discarded? Because this story is such sort of, a strong, very in your face. There's a lot of raw emotion in it, or a lot
Mhm.
of raw power in it. Anyway, a lot of raw emotion too, a lot of rawness. Is
Yeah.
the title can be very important for that kind of thing. How did you go about it?
Yeah. So the title didn't come to me immediately. I think it came maybe the halfway through writing it. Um, I was originally planning it to somewhat. reference like the number seven because that keeps getting repeated a lot in the story as well. Um, like all the kids get thrown into the lake when they're seven. There's the seven steps on the pier. So I considered something about that, maybe something about winter. So I was like, roughly for a moment, I considered maybe like seven winters as a title, but I didn't like it very much for it to match the story because it didn't. I don't know. It didn't really feel like it met the emotional crux of the story. And so when I had sort of had like a very rough draft, I was kind of thinking about like what is the point of this story, and and, and so I kind of came to this idea that these this people like Mama is trying to numb herself to the world around her, and, and that's and that kind of links. I managed to make that linking back to the fish, where we're gutting the fish, we're taking out the insides, as gruesome as that is. Kind of symbolically, that's the same with these people. Like with Mama, she wants to sort of not feel, even though like she is still feeling, but she's really trying to separate herself from the world, and it's like this like emotional gutting. So I had the idea of the title being "How to Gut a Fish," and I didn't like that either because it felt like the story was going to be like an instruction manual. And I eventually got to that line where teaching Hannah, to pulverize her own nettle, to bite back the teeth, to gut a fish. And I thought, oh, there it is. Get rid of the word how, and it's just to gut a fish. It's more direct, and that really matches Mama's personality. It's very direct. And I was like, that's it. Done. That was just, it just felt right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so that's a really thanks for walking us through that. I think that's a really fascinating look at how the title comes about. I totally see what you mean by thinking, oh, something with the sevens makes sense. There's so many repetitions of sevens. Let's get the seven in there.
Yeah.
Anything with winter, what you were saying with that, just I agree. It's just not powerful enough for the writing that is in this story. And the two got a fish dropping the house. I think that's definitely the right choice. Makes it it's a strong, punchy title, and once you read the story, like, of course, the story isn't really about gutting a fish, but it gets
Mm-hmm.
to that sort of emotional core of why to gut a fish is so important in that survival context that they're in, both in terms of
Mm-hmm.
surviving winter and growing up in this sort of harsher environment, and also to survive emotionally in this pretty brutal cycle, to be honest, that all these characters are in, Mama especially.
Mm.
Yeah. Uh, Speaking of the cycle, how conscious of you were that when you were creating the story? Did you plan that in advance and then just wrote to the cycle, and did it evolve as you were going? I think you mentioned towards the beginning of this that the characters kind of have a life of their own and you're just transcribing it, it just poured out of you. Did you do much planning in terms of that structure, or did it just come out and you saw it there like a diamond in the rough?
Yeah. So this was probably the first thing I came up with for this story. I just had this idea of this like cold, like Norwegian landscape, something like really beautiful, but also very cold. And I thought about that lake, and so the cycle was very intentional because I when I'm writing, I my process is I always come up with the first line and the last line first, so I know where I'm starting, where I'm ending. So I had this like very strong like A to B thing, and like everything in that way. I guess it's a way to help make the story land. If I'm writing without knowing where it needs to end, then I'm just like writing into a void, and it's just kind of trailing off. So I always get that last line as well. So I think that's why a lot of my stories tend to be very cyclical. I have many stories where the last line is the same as the first line, but it kind of takes on a different meaning by the time you get to that last line.
Gonna say
So
a little cheating there. I know where I'm going, but it's just the exact same. You just have to make it
yeah,
hit a little, but it's not cheating at all. It's a joke.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, I definitely had those two lines immediately. So I had that opening line, and yeah, had that, and I knew that final line about, I didn't have the character's name yet, but I just had the character comes up and she snarls beautifully, and I had that. I was like, that's perfect. That's what I want. I want this to be cyclical in a sense, like trying so hard to break this cycle, but in trying to break the cycle, you are just completing the cycle. And I really liked what you said in your comments about how it kind of like perfects the cycle and not just completes it. That I found that was really a really good thought about it. So thank you for seeing that.
My
Um,
pleasure.
because it's very similar to what Mama did to her, where she kicked her into the lake, and there's like this decision to fight, and when they come out of the cold water, it's like this transformation. It's now like starting to fight, and it's like this snarling feral woman has come out, and that's exactly what happens at the end, with one slight difference, which I think sort of ties into what you said about like perfecting the cycle, where when Mama first came out of the water, her mother was gone. Whereas in this version, where Hannah is coming up on the water, Mama is still on that dock. She's there waiting. And I think that shows a little bit about her character, about how she does really care about her kids, like enough that she's willing to make sure that she does come up safely. I mean, not enough to actually help, but um,
Well, it's I
yeah.
mean
So I
it's her
really,
misguided. It's she didn't have the internet. She it's her misguided idea of like it is helping by letting her get through the struggle on her own.
yeah.
But it is that like that's a big expression of love from her, just the fact that she's still there and that she still did it. I thought that was great. Do you have like is this where the story ends for you, or do you have an idea of where it goes on? Does Hannah grow up? Feeling the love from this? Does she resent her mom? Does she grow up and kick her own kid in the ice? Is this the beginning of like a cultural,
Ooh.
societal tradition in these lands of everybody getting thrown in the ice and drowning at 7 years old?
Ooh. I don't have a huge idea of what happens after, but what I would imagine happening is there would definitely be like this conflict between Hannah and Mama, because like they are now both uh, very strong women in that sense that they might clash with each other. But maybe they do get along fine. Maybe Hannah understands, but if you're keeping in mind, like when Mama first came out of the water, she was mad. She wanted to argue with her mum when she was like storming out the house looking for her mother. She wanted to fight. She wanted to argue with her mum. And even though her mum was gone, I think that might be the case with Hannah as well. She would want to argue and say, why the hell did you do that to me? Like that's not okay. But yeah, that is what Mama wanted. She wanted her girl to fight, to actually like stand up for herself and fight, and just like exist unapologetically. Um, so yeah, I think that's what happened. They would be sort of clashing, but I like to think that they would understand each other eventually. But yeah, I think they might have that similar, like Hannah might still have that similar character arc to Mama, where like there's a lot of resentment at first, but as you get older, you kind of start understanding why, and that kind of only comes with time. So maybe, but I don't have any plans to write a sequel. No. Um,
Yeah. Well, so I mean, this story is full of we got children being abandoned, we've got children dying, we've got children being just about like attempted
ugh,
murder. We've got
God, that makes me sound awful.
fathers wanting to see their kids and not getting to see them. We've got like taking advantage of the innocent innkeeper. Uh, we got a
Oof.
lot of really sort of strong emotional things in this. A lot of things that could be grief, a lot of trauma for various
Mm.
characters all over the place. Were there any scenes in this that were difficult for you to write or felt harder than the others, whether that's an emotional response or even, physically difficult, or were you crying through any of the writing process or anything like that?
I cry a lot when I'm writing my stories. If it's any sort of sad, like any sort of touch of sad, I'm just like I'm a mess. Uh, um, a particular hard part, I think, was the very end. Like I don't want to do this, Hannah, but like it's just I have to. Like mum is making me do this. She's forcing my hand here. This kid's getting kicked, unfortunately. But I was just like, I don't want to do this. I was like, this is too emotional for me. But yeah, unfortunately, it had to happen. It's not about me, so I just had to like let this happen. So like I can't inject myself here. Um, yeah, it's like if I had tried to soften the ending in any way, it would not have landed. So I was like, I have to go harder. Like, I have to keep getting that tension higher and higher, like more conflict, making it like to this point where there's no return. And yeah, so the kid had to get kicked, unfortunately.
And you just said that the story's not it's not about you. It's Mama's story. You can't change it.
Mm,
The story also, I said this earlier, it withholds moral judgment almost entirely, or just
mm,
completely entirely, as far as I'm concerned. Was that restraint intentional from your part right from the beginning? Or, I hesitate to ask, how do you feel about her practice of throwing children in an icy lake? But was your decision not to use the story to or like to because how do I explain? I think if you had added another line after the ending line to absolve her or like say this was the right idea, or you had the snapshot of the conversation where she says, Hannah, this was necessary for you, and Hannah says, yes, you're right, thank you, Mom, I'm going to grow up to be big and strong now, would have been way out of place, first of all, and also not
yeah.
been good for the story. But the
Mm,
writing throughout withholds judgment. You never like we're kind of pretty close with who Mama is and what she does. But she doesn't really seem to judge herself, and you as the narrator don't author don't offer an authorial choice on that or
mm,
decision, whatever you know what I mean. Uh,
yeah.
you're not giving that judgment. When did that happen for you in the writing process?
Um, that that was I feel like a consistent thing throughout the story. Like there was never a moment where I felt like I wanted to insert an opinion about whether mum's behavior was good or bad or somewhere in between. Because probably where I sit in the opinion is like somewhere in the in between. Like, I'm not going to be doing this. I don't plan on doing this to a child, but
And if you
just going to
were,
say
you
that
probably
now.
would say so here just to
Yeah, just for legal reasons, I'm going to say that now. um, um, but I really I didn't want there to be this commentary because it's not I don't know it's not necessarily something that needs an opinion to be put on because I feel like as a reader you're going to be making it you're going to be having an opinion yourself about this because it's very strong in the sense that it's uh, very intense and so the reader was going to come up with some kind of opinion about it anyway. But I think what I wanted to really set out to do was like I really like flawed characters. So this is a very, very flawed character. And I I find that stuff really compelling where you don't necessarily have like a character who's doing good things for good reasons and bad things just happen around them. I wanted a character who kind of is the the person that is pushing the plot along through her own choices and that yeah, it's not necessarily the best way I guess she could have handled all of this stuff. But
Mama's worldview is very clearly kind of conveyed to us through the
mm,
story. It's expressed through her actions rather than a lot of explanation, which I very much like. It kept the story moving and helped us
mm,
really get into her head, and kind of see things. And you used a lot of very specific language throughout. There's a lot of temperature, a lot of like food stuff, clothing, things like that. Um, but primarily, what I want to focus on here is the actions that Mama took that expressed who she was and how she thought. But just as importantly, how did you decide what to explain versus what to kind of leave out, or what to show us versus what not to explain, what not to include in the story? Or did you have to do any
Mm.
of that at all? Did it just pour out of you, and it was as close to perfect as possible?
Uh, I mean, I definitely wouldn't say the first draft was perfect. No. But yeah, there isn't very much exposition in the story because I felt like that kind of comes back to what we were saying about like this potential to accidentally like insert any like opinions where it's not needed, or and I feel like a lot of characters, particularly this character, it's very much shown through her actions. So explaining her thought process in that way isn't completely necessary. Whether it's a bit of double handling, you don't need to, I guess, explain that. And I like letting the reader infer that kind of thing. So if they that way it's all on the page and they can just sort of pick it up. And there's a few moments where we kind of get in her head a lot, where and that's correct in her like a lot of her some of her lower moments in the story we kind of get sucked back into her head. That's kind of what she's doing as well. She's very isolated, so she's kind of has herself for company for most of the story. Um,
How does this story compare to, this is a very strong story. Obviously getting much, you've been improving over the last year as you've been focusing on these things, has obviously been shown by your rapid success in the last couple of months as everything kind of is paying off for you now, I would imagine. How does this story kind of compare to your overall work? In terms of themes in it, in terms of the genre, not necessarily in terms of how strong the writing is, because we're always improving with that. If this story has won an
mm.
award, couldn't say. I think my original question in my mind was, how does it compare to the first story you ever written? But that's just a silly question because it's what. But how does this reflect on your general sort of approach to short stories? What you like to write, what you include in your work?
mm. Yeah, so I'd say To Gut a Fish is exactly the type of story that I like writing. And I think that's why the story was, it just kind of fell out of me so easily. This is exactly the type, like the tone of the story. It's really visceral. I really get to play around with these like really intense details. And my favorite stories are the ones that can do that. I really get to like drive in on a really like intense moment and sort of flesh it out from there. Um, in terms of the genre as well, I'm not really sure what genre you'd call this. Maybe like some kind of drama or literary in a sense. But yeah, I really like this style, and I love the voice in this as well. It's one of my favorite voices. So I'm really happy with it. I'm so proud of it. Considering I don't write much this length as well. Um, I I really try to be well. I'm trying to be well rounded. So I'm trying to try like different things all the time. So I'm trying to learn a new literary device and practicing it. And sometimes story will fall flat on its face because I'm trying something new, and that's just a risk sometimes. But yeah, I'm so in love with the story. Um, yeah, I really want to try different genres to one day. So things like comedy and like those kind of a bit more lighter stories, I really struggle with. I get so like worried about like, is this funny? Am I funny? Is this too light? Like, is it
I think
like
most funny
even
people have worried about that.
okay?
Most non-funny people worry
Uh,
about it too.
even like cozy stories as well has the same like element of like, is there enough conflict here to make it interesting? Like, what's that balance? And whereas with a story like To Gut a Fish, there's like I can just sort of go hard on one particular thing where this voice and this tone of the story, there's less worrying about it. It's more like just enjoying it. So I really like that. So where there's a lot less thinking about how other people are going to receive it, and that way I can just focus on writing it. So this style is what suits me the best. But I do want to try and expand more and learn new things. Like I like being that kind of like information sponge. I want to learn more. So
Absolutely.
one day I'll try and write something funny.
Yeah, I don't think it would be appropriate in this story specifically.
No,
Uh,
no.
but I mean, it's very clear that you fell in love with the story, and uh, I'm glad to hear that it's just what you like to write. It certainly paid off. It's excellent, excellent writing, very strong, very powerful, very human story at its
Mm.
core, with a lot of emotion that really resonated with me. I was very, very pleased to select it as the winner. Um, I mentioned in an earlier chat with you that it was very highly. It was kind of, I think it was kind of the highest regarded story with in the preliminary judges, and I agreed. I easily agreed with them in this. Absolutely deserves the award. So you are an award-winning author. Congratulations. Uh,
Oh, yay.
what was it like when you opened the magazine and saw a contest winner underneath your name? Where were you? What happened? What was your reaction? Did you go and tell somebody what was going on?
Yeah, so I was home alone at that point and I knew what time the magazine was coming out. So I was at my desk, like frantically refreshing the page. I was like, I want to know, like, so tell me. And finally it came out and I like jumped into the contents and I saw two of my friends are also in this um, edition as well, Steve and Lincoln. Thankfully, I was so happy for them, and I was just like, I was just like, so happy for them. And then I saw like my name's there too, and I went, like, wait, what? I had just like this moment of complete like silence. Like, oh, that's my name. Why is my name there? And then I was like scrolling through it and I was like, is this actually my story? Like, is this like a typo? And then I got to like that page and it was page 68 and I saw that name and there's these words next, like these two words next to my name that says contest winner. And I was just like, hmm? Like, I was just like, it was like completely like my brain just like short circuited. Like these words are next to my name, like they don't belong there. And so I was like blinking, like as if they were going to like vanish. And then I just started crying. It was like the waterworks. I was just like, what the hell? I was just crying. And I immediately called my partner and I was on the phone to him and I was just like blubbering. I'm like, that story I wrote, the one about the fish and like the one in Norway. And I was like, oh, it's not making any sense. And I was like, page 68, the fish story. And I was just like going back and forth, like the fish story. And and eventually I managed to get out the word like I won. And and then it was an absolute mess. And it took me a while to actually get my head together enough to read like your comments. And I was such a I was in such shock. Yeah. It was a wild moment for me. I was so happy.
Well, I'm glad to hear it. And then yeah, and then and then you became a second award winner a week later
Mhm.
with the NYC Midnight. So big big punches coming, but definitely deserves success if your writing quality is here. And if this has been happening the last couple of months, I can't wait to see what the rest of the year holds for you and the coming years. I can see
Yeah.
finding a lot more success just from having spoken with you today, hearing your kind of excitement about literary devices and verbs, and I know you love grammar, and love to bastardize
Yeah.
grammar. Was
Yes.
something you mentioned, I think, in your bio, which is
Yes.
always fun. Hearing you talk about experimenting with different forms, different genres, learning everything that you can, and with your writing already this strong, so I can see you having a lot of success in the coming years. Certainly, I'm a fan. I'd love to continue reading what you're doing. I'm definitely going to go check out the NYC Midnight story after this. Can you give us the name of that again, just so that we can make sure we go check it out?
Yeah, it's not actually published at the point of us
Oh,
talking. Um, not I don't have an exact date from them about when it's going to be published yet. But the story is called Roo Sprayers. Like Roo is in kangaroo,
oh,
so
Rue.
Roo Sprayers. So, yeah,
Rue Spears. Okay, fantastic. I'm pretty sure if we Google Chloe Paige NYC Midnight Winner, we'll probably find it, right?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Fantastic. So with kind of all of this happening right now in the last month, 6 weeks or so, um, what what are your hopes? What are your expectations for the future? Where do you want to kind of see yourself at the end of 2026 in 5 years?
Mm.
What are you hoping? Are you, full-time author? Replace your current day job? What does it look like for Chloe in the coming months and years?
Ooh, that's a tricky question. I'm very much taking this like very like one story at a time, just sort of trying to figure out some things. But what I have sort of noticed in this little journey that I've been on is I really like reading other people's work. I love like beta reading and giving feedback to people. Um, so I'm really happy that I have like a really supportive group um, of writers that I kind of like read their stories with. And I really like doing that. So I'm not sure, like maybe one day that leads to some kind of like editing role or something like that. But I just really like reading other people's work, and so if I could have like workshopping that with them, um, I don't get to do it as much as I'd like to because it's always um, it's quite time consuming, particularly when if we're all doing like a competition at the same time and we only have a few days to get the story done. I can't get around to reading everyone's work as much as I really want to. I love seeing how their brains work. So maybe something like that one day, something like editing or reading. Um, but absolutely, I want to get more into this world. I want to write more. I want to do more reading. As yeah, I want to be fully like just jump straight into it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I certainly think that you should. I think that you absolutely could, and I would, I would say, yeah, of course, because I'm in the industry, and I think it's an amazing thing. And hearing your passion for writing, I definitely think that you should pursue that. The writing world would be better with your writing in it for sure. So I hope you continue, and I wish you great success with that.
Oh,
Um,
thank you.
a final question. Would you did you find elegant literature helpful in any way on your journey, and would you recommend it to other people?
Yeah, absolutely. Um, yeah, I yeah this it's just been such a wonderful experience with elegant literature. They like you guys have been so like supportive of like other writers and their journeys, particularly established like not established writers, making sure like new writers have this foothold to get noticed in the industry because it is can be very cutthroat. I've noticed, and so like that is really important for new writers because it is a very lonely process writing. So it's amazing to see like someone like you guys at Elegant Literature actually trying really hard to make it a less lonely thing and that connecting all these people together and particularly like uplifting new writers. Like it's so important because everyone gets quite swamped in people who are having this kind of success and like obviously it's really great for them as well, but it can be quite daunting for people who haven't quite managed to get their foot in the door yet. So being able to you guys helping with that way, it's been amazing. So yeah, you guys have been amazing with yeah how you've helped us. Yeah, so thank you.
No, thank you. That is very kind words, and I love hearing that. That's the whole goal of what I'm doing is to have that kind of reaction. So, thank you very much. Um, Now you've won our award. You can now put award-winning author on your resume, on your bios
Oh,
for all future publications. That's pretty nice. You've won NYC Midnight. I'm not sure if that's a prize or considered an award, but that's a big one to have on your bio on your resume as well. What's next for you? Is there because of course I don't know if you can continue submitting to NYC Midnight after winning with Elegant Literature. Of course, you can only win the award once. You're not a new writer in our minds anymore. You are a professional as far as I'm concerned. You're more than a professional. You're an
oh wow.
award-winning author.
Oh
What's
wow.
next for you? Are there other competitions that you are eager in? Are there certain magazines that you would love to get published in? What do you have any, or are you going to sit back on your laurels and let this sink in for a couple of months before you decide what to do?
Oh, I really want to keep going. So I'm not sure if I'll be sitting around for a few months. So I'm going to keep going. So I want to keep writing more. I A goal for me is I really want to write more things that people are excited about reading. Um, so there are definitely a few competitions I really want to sort of get like better results in, or I don't have any particular magazines in mind for publishing. It, it it always depends on the story. Like depending on what I've written, I'm trying to find a magazine that sort of fits that story. So I haven't yet tried writing directly for a magazine that I want, but that's definitely on my to-do list to try and figure out um, getting that sort of bucket list magazine to get into. But that's definitely down the track because it's still very new for me. It's still a very new part. I'm still, like you say, I'm a professional writer now, but I've been doing this for a year. It's just not that long. But yeah, I really enjoy like the little competition circuit that's going on. Like I really enjoy that. It's such a nice community, so I like to be in there as much as I can. Um, yeah, I'm just so grateful for all of it. So I guess my goal is just keep going, just keep making friends in this place, and keep writing stuff, keep reading stuff. Yeah.
Fantastic. I think that's a great answer. Just continuing on, just continuing on. Jesus, I keep moving around while I'm saying it. Just continuing on is a great way. Just continuing to try and improve your craft. And I love the bit about making friends because the writing world definitely works better when you have community and support around you. I think that's a great thing for everyone to have. So.
Yeah.
It's been an absolute pleasure meeting you. It's been really, really great having this conversation. I was so excited because I absolutely love To Give a Fish. I thought the writing was fantastic, and I wanted to meet the
Oh,
author behind that. So thank you so much, and this has been absolutely wonderful. Congratulations again. You are an award-winning author. You've won the Elegant Literature Award for New Writers.
oh, thank you so much for having me. It's been so surreal. I'm just so grateful. So thank you so much.
Thank you. And everybody who's watching this video, thank you so much for being with us. You can go, if you've made it this far, without reading the stories, or if you haven't checked out the magazine, there's over 500 stories by emerging writers who are paid professional rates and are the next generation of authors in the short fiction world for sure, including Chloe Paige. 500 stories free to read at elegantliterature.com. And if you're a newer writer and looking to get your first a couple paid publication credits, please consider submitting to us. You might even win a $3,000 award like Chloe. Uh, Thank you for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Chloe, congratulations again. It was so wonderful to meet you.
Thank you so much. Same to you.
Fantastic.